In a distant future, the Galactic Empire ruled the stars, an interstellar power whose fleets stretched across the galaxy, crushing civilizations beneath their might. It was a well-oiled machine of conquest, boasting technology far beyond what most species could comprehend. To them, the universe was theirs to control, and any planet they encountered, no matter how advanced or primitive, was simply another asset to be added to their ever-expanding empire. Their ships were armed with weapons capable of obliterating entire cities, and their soldiers were genetically enhanced, trained in the most sophisticated combat techniques. For centuries, they had conquered one star system after another, with few opponents able to put up any meaningful resistance. And then, there was Earth. Earth, an isolated planet at the far edge of the galaxy, had long been dismissed by the Empire as nothing more than a footnote in the grand tapestry of the galaxy. Scans of the planet's population revealed that their weapons were little more than relics of an earlier age: firearms, tanks, crude missiles, and no space-faring capability to speak of. Their technology was primitive, their understanding of the universe elementary. In the Empire's eyes, Earth was a blip on the radar, insignificant in the face of their overwhelming technological superiority. The planet was ripe for conquest, just another easy addition to their ever-growing domain. The Empire's leaders laughed at the thought of resistance. A tiny planet with a pathetic military force, they scoffed. We'll crush them in a matter of days. They saw no reason to send their full fleet for such a simple task. A token invasion force would suffice, a fleet large enough to intimidate, but small enough to be seen as a mere demonstration of the Empire's might. Their conquest of Earth was expected to be swift, efficient, and bloodless. From the moment the fleet jumped into Earth's orbit, the Empire's command was confident in their victory. The first wave of troops deployed, landing near Earth's largest cities, ready to announce the beginning of a new era under the Empire's rule. They expected nothing more than an easy submission, followed by the usual protocol of assimilating the population, installing imperial governors, and bringing Earth into the fold. But the initial landing did not go according to plan. Humanity had prepared, albeit in the most primitive way possible. Though their military was no match for the Empire's advanced forces, Earth's soldiers had something the Empire did not expect: resolve. Earth's military, though small, had been training for years in preparation for the inevitable moment of invasion. They had no delusions about matching the Empire's technology. Instead, they relied on guerrilla tactics, using the terrain of their planet to their advantage. No matter how advanced the invaders were, they could never account for the unpredictability of human ingenuity. The Empire underestimated the humans' ability to organize and resist. Their fleet, equipped with advanced scanners and artificial intelligence, had detected no signs of organized military readiness on Earth. No great armies, no hidden weapons caches, just a primitive race with no way to defend itself. The Empire was wrong. The humans may not have had the advanced technologies of their invaders, but they had something far more potent: an understanding of their own environment and the will to fight for their survival. The first signs of trouble came when an Imperial landing party, expecting to meet little resistance, was ambushed. A small squad of human soldiers, using the natural landscape to their advantage, attacked the first wave of invaders. They used improvised explosives, homemade weapons, and the element of surprise to take down several Imperial soldiers. The ambush, though minor in the grand scale of the invasion, sent a shockwave of confusion through the Imperial ranks. Their commanders, initially confident in their victory, were forced to reevaluate their understanding of the situation. The first question that began circulating among the Empire's officers was simple: who were these humans, and why were they fighting back? The idea that a primitive species would dare to challenge the Empire was unthinkable. The Empire's vast fleets and elite soldiers were unmatched by any civilization they had encountered in their conquests. Their superiority was not just in technology, it was in their culture, their soldiers, and their ability to annihilate anything that posed a threat. But the humans were proving different. They were resourceful. They didn't rely on high-tech weaponry or advanced spacecraft. Instead, they used whatever was at their disposal, repurposing anything they could find into tools of warfare. They set traps, used stealth to infiltrate Imperial positions, and attacked from the shadows. The Empire was caught off guard. What they had dismissed as a petty nuisance quickly escalated into a problem they had not anticipated. The resistance, though disorganized and lacking advanced firepower, proved to be an insidious threat. The Empire's forces were far from helpless, but they had never encountered an enemy that fought so fiercely without the technological advantages they were accustomed to. Every inch of ground taken from the humans was a costly victory, and soon, the Imperial command began to realize the humans weren't just fighting, they were learning. The Empire's advanced technology, though superior in many ways, could not account for the ways in which the humans adapted. While the Empire relied on precision and overwhelming force, the humans fought with chaos and unpredictability. They were everywhere, and nowhere at once. They struck when least expected and withdrew before the Empire could mount a full response. The Imperial fleet's confidence in their technology began to falter. Despite all their advantages, they couldn't seem to stamp out this small, scrappy force of human soldiers who seemed to defy every expectation. At first, the Empire wrote it off as a nuisance, a brief flare-up of resistance that would quickly be extinguished. But the longer the conflict dragged on, the more the Empire began to take notice. The humans, though vastly outmatched, were putting up a fight that was unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered. The human resistance was not just a desperate last stand, it was a calculated war of attrition. Every successful raid against the Empire's forces sent a ripple of uncertainty through their ranks. Soon, the question wasn't whether the Empire could defeat the humans, it was whether the humans could be underestimated any longer. With each passing day, it became more apparent that this was no ordinary fight. The humans had something that the Empire did not, a drive to survive, to protect their home, and an ability to adapt on a scale that even the Empire's greatest minds had not predicted. The more the Empire dismissed the humans as weak and insignificant, the more the humans proved them wrong. What began as a simple invasion had turned into something far more dangerous, an enemy that fought not just with weapons, but with their very spirit. And the Empire, though powerful beyond measure, was beginning to understand that this might be a war they could not win through sheer strength alone. The humans, though vastly outmatched in terms of technology, had a resilience that the Empire failed to understand. Despite their limited resources, Earth's soldiers fought with a ferocity and cunning that defied all expectations. The Empire had expected an easy conquest, but now they were faced with a different reality, one where their advanced technology and vast numbers did not guarantee them victory. The first wave of Imperial forces, though elite and well-equipped, was caught off guard by the unexpected resistance they faced. The human soldiers, though few in number, fought in ways the Empire had not anticipated. Earth's army, lacking advanced weapons or military vehicles, had turned to guerrilla tactics, relying on ambushes, traps, and surprise strikes. The humans were not equipped to engage in a head-on battle with the Empire's superior forces, so they fought smart. They used the environment to their advantage, blending into the terrain, moving unseen, and striking only when victory was certain. The Empire's advanced technologies, while impressive, could not counter the unpredictable and chaotic nature of human warfare. The first few engagements were marked by confusion among the Empire's commanders. The Imperial soldiers, trained to fight in organized formations with cutting-edge weapons, were thrown into disarray by the human tactics. Earth's soldiers, equipped with nothing more than basic firearms and improvised explosives, targeted weak points in the Empire's defenses and attacked supply lines, communications hubs, and fuel depots. It wasn't long before the Empire's fleet began to realize that they were not dealing with a weak and disorganized force. They were up against a determined enemy willing to sacrifice everything to defend their planet. The Empire's response was swift. They began to deploy more troops, bringing in reinforcements and heavier weaponry. However, this only seemed to play into the hands of the human resistance. With each new Imperial advance, the humans adapted. They didn't have the firepower to match the Empire's soldiers directly, but they didn't need to. They turned every engagement into a fight of attrition, forcing the Empire's forces to waste resources and manpower. The Empire had never considered the possibility of a war of endurance. Their strategy had always relied on overwhelming force. Now they were facing an enemy who understood the value of patience and persistence. The human resistance's leaders, though untrained in conventional warfare, quickly proved to be brilliant tacticians. They coordinated their forces with precision, using the limited technology at their disposal to strike where the Empire least expected it. Radio transmissions were intercepted and jammed. The Empire's communication systems were hacked, turning their own technology against them. The humans used homemade explosives to destroy Imperial war machines, and every time they scored a victory, their morale grew stronger. What began as a desperate defense transformed into an organized, strategic campaign. They were learning, adapting, and the Empire was beginning to take notice. The Empire's arrogance had blinded them to one crucial fact: humanity was incredibly adaptive. While they may not have had the Empire's advanced technologies, the humans had the ability to learn quickly and apply new strategies. As the days turned into weeks, the human resistance began to reverse engineer the alien technology they had captured. They studied Imperial weapons, spacecraft, and communications systems. It wasn't long before the humans were able to adapt these alien technologies to their own needs. They modified blasters, reprogrammed droids, and used Imperial spacecraft for their own attacks. The Empire's commanders were rattled. The humans had taken their weapons and turned them against them. A race they had written off as primitive was now using their own technology to fight back. The sight of human soldiers piloting Imperial ships, wielding Imperial weapons, and using Imperial technology against them struck fear into the hearts of the invaders. They had underestimated the humans from the start, assuming that their technological superiority alone would guarantee victory. Now, the humans were showing them just how dangerous adaptability could be. One of the most surprising moments came when a small group of human soldiers infiltrated one of the Empire's command centers. Using their knowledge of the station's layout, they bypassed security systems, disabled shields, and set explosives at critical points. When the explosion rocked the Empire's base, it was not just a victory, it was a message. The humans were no longer just trying to survive. They were fighting for their freedom, and they were willing to use any means necessary to do so. The Empire's confidence began to erode. For the first time in their history, they were dealing with an enemy that couldn't be easily defeated. The human soldiers fought with a kind of dogged persistence that no amount of technology could easily overcome. The Empire, whose fleets had easily crushed civilizations across the galaxy, was finding itself stuck in a prolonged conflict with a species they had once dismissed as weak. With each victory, the human resistance gained ground. They might not have been able to take on the Empire's full fleet head-on, but they had found a way to fight back, and they were doing it in a way that the Empire had never imagined. They had turned the tables by using the Empire's own strength against them. The Empire's high-tech weapons were being turned into the humans' tools of war, and the Empire had no way of anticipating this. The human soldiers, though vastly outnumbered, had one thing that the Empire lacked: unity. They fought not just as individuals, but as a collective. Their shared belief in the importance of their cause gave them an edge that the Empire could not understand. The invaders might have superior firepower, but the humans had something else, something more intangible, a reason to fight. They weren't just soldiers following orders. They were people fighting for their home, their families, and their way of life. The Empire, despite all its might, couldn't counter the power of human resolve. As the days passed and the Empire's forces became more spread thin, it was clear to their commanders that this was no ordinary resistance. Earth soldiers were learning. They were evolving and adapting faster than the Empire had imagined possible. The longer the war dragged on, the more it became clear, this wasn't a battle for survival, it was a war of will. And humanity was showing the Empire just how powerful the human spirit could be. The humans had won the first few rounds of the fight, not with strength or technology, but with ingenuity. And now the Empire, once so certain of its victory, was beginning to realize that the true threat wasn't their technological inferiority, it was their unpredictability. As the war continued, the human resistance transformed from a disorganized group of guerrilla fighters into a highly effective military force. The Empire had underestimated the determination and adaptability of humanity, and with each passing day, the humans adapted, learned, and improved their tactics. The battle, which the Empire had once assumed would be a brief and one-sided affair, had turned into a prolonged conflict that now threatened to undermine the Empire's grip on Earth. The humans' ability to quickly reverse engineer alien technology played a crucial role in turning the tide. At first, the humans had no way to match the Empire's advanced weaponry. But now, thanks to their ingenuity, they had managed to craft rudimentary but effective countermeasures. They took the Empire's advanced firearms, analyzed their designs, and began to replicate them. What they lacked in resources, they made up for in creativity. They stripped Imperial weapons for parts, modified them to suit their needs, and used them against the invaders with increasing effectiveness. Even their own homemade explosives, once considered primitive, were refined into weapons capable of disabling the most sophisticated of Imperial war machines. The greatest success came when the human resistance managed to capture and study a downed Imperial ship. The ship, though heavily damaged in battle, contained valuable intelligence, more than the humans could have hoped for. They scoured the wreckage, pulling apart components, studying the ship's technology, and learning how to use it. Within weeks, they had repaired and reconfigured the ship, outfitting it with human modifications. What was once an advanced alien vessel became a tool in the hands of humanity. The humans were no longer just scavenging for technology. They were mastering it, using it as effectively as the Empire had ever done. The human soldiers, armed with stolen alien technology, became an increasingly formidable force. The Empire's once pristine war machines, designed to conquer and subdue, were now being turned against their creators. Human soldiers piloted Imperial spacecraft with skill, using them to strike at the heart of the Empire's forces. What had begun as a fight for survival had become a fight for control. And the Empire, once convinced that victory was inevitable, now found itself facing an adversary that was becoming increasingly capable of winning. The turning point in the war came when the humans managed to infiltrate one of the Empire's largest space stations. This station was a vital cog in the Empire's military infrastructure, housing critical communications and defense systems. Its destruction would cripple the Empire's ability to coordinate and maintain its presence in the solar system. The humans, using their newly acquired knowledge of Imperial technology, managed to bypass the station's security measures and sabotage its systems. They planted explosives, hacked into the station's network, and disabled its defense shields. When the station exploded in a violent flash of light, it sent shockwaves through the Empire's ranks. For the first time, the Empire felt vulnerable. The attack on the space station marked a significant psychological shift. It was no longer just a war of attrition, it was a battle of survival, and the humans were proving that they could not only survive but also strike devastating blows against the Empire's infrastructure. The Empire's commanders scrambled to formulate new strategies, but the humans had already taken the fight to their doorstep. It was no longer a matter of defeating a small and inferior force. It was a matter of containing an enemy that had gained the upper hand in several critical battles. The psychological toll on the Empire's leadership began to show. The once confident commanders now found themselves facing an opponent they could not predict. The humans, who had once been dismissed as primitive and helpless, were now proving to be an unpredictable and resourceful force. The Empire's commanders realized that they were dealing with something far more dangerous than a simple rebellion. They were facing an enemy that had the ability to learn, adapt, and overcome. The humans had turned their own technology against them, and the more the Empire tried to retaliate, the more the humans seemed to stay one step ahead. This shift in momentum had a profound impact on both sides. The Empire, now aware of the human threat, began to take the resistance seriously. They escalated their attacks, bringing in more troops and more advanced weaponry. But every time they deployed new forces, the humans found a way to counter them. The Empire's reliance on brute force and advanced technology was starting to backfire. Humanity was using the Empire's greatest strength, its technological superiority, against it. They were fighting with the same determination that had once allowed them to survive against the odds. On Earth, the human resistance grew stronger. The soldiers, once hesitant and unsure, now fought with confidence, knowing that their tactics were working. As they took more Imperial technology and incorporated it into their forces, they developed new strategies and coordinated attacks that disrupted the Empire's supply lines and command structures. They set traps, launched ambushes, and used hit-and-run tactics to cripple the Empire's forces. What had once seemed like an insurmountable gap between their technology and the Empire's was now closing, and the humans had become experts at exploiting the weaknesses of their more advanced opponents. The Resistance also received unexpected support from civilians. As the war escalated, ordinary humans began to join the fight. People from all walks of life, farmers, engineers, scientists, came together, offering their expertise to the war effort. They worked together to repair and improve captured Imperial technology, and they used their knowledge of Earth's terrain to create new and innovative methods of combat. The once divided planet was now united by a common cause: survival. The Empire had underestimated the human ability to unite and fight for their home, and now it was facing an enemy that could no longer be ignored. The Empire's response to these growing threats was to increase its offensive, deploying more fleets to Earth's orbit and bringing in larger, more advanced weapons. However, the humans had learned from their earlier successes and now fought with greater coordination and precision. The once imposing Empire was beginning to feel the strain of an enemy that was no longer reactive but proactive. Humanity had found a way to take the fight to the heart of the Empire, and they had shown that even the mightiest empire in the galaxy could be brought to its knees by the determination and adaptability of a single species. As the war dragged on, the Empire began to recognize the full extent of the humans' capabilities. What had begun as a brief invasion to conquer a primitive species had turned into a full-scale war, and the Empire had been forced to adapt to the unexpected tactics of the humans. Every victory for the humans, no matter how small, was a sign that the Empire's power was no longer absolute. Humanity was proving that it was more than just a weak and insignificant species. It was a force to be reckoned with, and the Empire's arrogance was now their greatest weakness. The humans had shown that with enough will and determination, they could not only survive the Empire's might, they could defeat it. As the war reached its tipping point, the human resistance stood on the precipice of victory. The Empire, once so sure of its dominance, now found itself struggling to maintain control. Humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with, and the Empire's commanders, once dismissive of Earth's inhabitants, now faced the uncomfortable truth: they had underestimated a species capable of learning, adapting, and overcoming impossible odds. The turning point came when the Resistance launched a series of coordinated strikes against the Empire's remaining strongholds. Earth's soldiers, equipped with Imperial technology and their own ingenuity, now had the means to confront the Empire on its own terms. The human resistance, once fragmented and disorganized, had grown into a formidable military force, capable of taking on the might of the Empire in direct combat. The humans had learned to exploit the weaknesses in Imperial tactics, outmaneuvering their opponents at every turn. The first major strike came when human forces, having infiltrated the Empire's remaining command centers, launched an all-out assault on one of their most heavily fortified positions, a massive Imperial space station that served as the command hub for all operations in the solar system. The humans, armed with stolen Imperial weapons and guided by their knowledge of the station's layout, were able to breach its defenses and cause a massive explosion, crippling the Empire's communications and command infrastructure. This single act of defiance sent shockwaves throughout the Empire, and for the first time, they realized they were facing a force that could not be easily dismissed. With the space station's destruction, the human resistance dealt a devastating blow to the Empire's ability to coordinate its operations. The loss of communication and command structures left the Empire's forces disorganized and vulnerable. The once unstoppable Imperial fleets, which had been the backbone of their military superiority, were now scattered and disjointed. The humans, having learned from their earlier successes, capitalized on this disarray, launching a series of targeted strikes that further crippled the Empire's ability to retaliate. As the Empire struggled to regroup, the human resistance continued to press forward. With each victory, they gained more ground, both strategically and psychologically. The humans, once considered nothing more than a nuisance, had now become a symbol of hope and defiance. Earth's soldiers were no longer fighting merely to survive, they were fighting to end the Empire's reign of terror, and with every victory, they drew closer to their ultimate goal. One of the most significant developments came when the humans captured a high-ranking Imperial officer, one of the architects of the invasion. The officer, once confident in the superiority of the Empire, was now a prisoner of war. He had been captured during a daring raid on a secret Imperial facility, and his capture became a turning point in the war. The officer, now facing the full wrath of humanity's resistance, was forced to confront the reality of what the Empire had done. No longer able to ignore the suffering of the people he had once sought to conquer, he became a reluctant ally to the human cause. The information the officer provided was invaluable. It revealed the weaknesses in the Empire's military strategy and exposed vulnerabilities in their infrastructure. The humans used this intelligence to launch a series of devastating attacks, targeting key Imperial supply lines, communication hubs, and military bases. With each new strike, the Empire's grip on Earth weakened, and humanity's resolve only grew stronger. As the war reached its climax, the humans launched a final, decisive offensive. Their forces, now equipped with advanced alien technology and backed by the ingenuity that had carried them this far, attacked the Empire's flagship fleet, the heart of its military might. The humans, having mastered the tactics and technologies they had once scavenged, fought with unmatched ferocity and precision. They used the Empire's own ships against them, turning the tide of battle in a way that had once seemed unimaginable. The battle was fierce, but the humans fought with an unwavering determination, knowing that the outcome would determine the future of their species. The Empire, now cornered and desperate, launched everything it had in a final attempt to crush the resistance. But it was too late. The humans had become experts at warfare, using their adaptability, resilience, and unity to outmaneuver the Empire at every turn. In a decisive strike, the humans disabled the Empire's flagship, cutting off its command and control. The once feared Empire fleet, now leaderless and disorganized, was easily picked off by human forces. With the destruction of the flagship, the Empire's morale shattered, and its remaining forces scattered. The war was over. In the aftermath, the humans celebrated their victory, but it was tempered by the immense cost of the conflict. Earth had been ravaged by the war, and countless lives had been lost. Yet, the victory was sweet. They had faced an enemy that had once laughed at their insignificance, and they had defeated it. The Empire, with all its might and advanced technology, had been brought to its knees by the determination of a single species, a species that refused to be crushed, no matter the odds. The war had shown the galaxy a simple, undeniable truth: humanity, despite its primitive beginnings and limited resources, was not a species to be underestimated. It was a species capable of learning, adapting, and overcoming. In the face of overwhelming odds, the humans had proven that their greatest strength lay not in their technology, but in their spirit. It was this spirit, this unwavering will to survive, that had carried them to victory, and it was a lesson the Empire would never forget. In the end, the humans had shown the galaxy what they were truly capable of. No longer a weak, insignificant species, they had earned their place among the stars. And as the dust settled and the survivors began to rebuild, the humans knew that they had done more than just defeat an invader. They had proven that even the mightiest empire could be toppled by the power of humanity's will, and that, in the end, was the true strength of Earth.